What's going on YouTube? This is Reese here. Today I'm going to show you a video. This is the KX250. If you've seen my other video of when I drained the gear case oil, it was a milky kind of gray color, and I wasn't sure if the previous owner maybe had sunk the bike or something and it got contaminated that way. But anyway, if that is not the case, then I'm going to be pulling off the water pump here, pulling off this case, this outer case, and taking the water pump off, and checking the shaft for grooves, and also replacing the seals and the bearing if need be. But what we're going to do is I got a little can here I'm going to put up under here, and we're going to drain this oil. I ran, like I said in my previous video, I changed it and I put some, because my clutch was sticking, I put some ATF inside the case. So if that is a milky color and it's not bright red still, then if it looks really contaminated, then my guess would be it's probably the water pump shaft. So without adding any gear oil back, we'll go ahead and just leave it as it sits. But while I'm out here, I got this, as you can see, magnetic drain plug. So I was going to go ahead and replace it, the factory one, with this one. It's got a magnet on the end, so every time you change it, any metal shavings that are in the case that sink to the bottom of the case, they attach to the magnet, catches them. So when you change it, you can just wipe the magnet off, and that just helps to prolong the life of the gear case. So we're going to go ahead, pull this nut out, pull this bolt out here, and we'll go ahead and drain the oil. And I got a 14mm socket here with a little ratchet and extension. Alright, moment of truth, guys. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it's milky. Still just a milky color. Not bright red. So looks like we'll be pulling this case, guys. Alright, so as y'all can see, if y'all seen my other video, then you saw when I put the ATF in there, automatic transmission fluid is very bright. So very bright red, clear. You know, this right here, just to show y'all, I mean, this milky is definitely contaminated with the antifreeze. So that's leading me to believe the case needs to come off. Either the water pump will get grooves in it and cause it to leak, the shaft will, or either the seal will go bad. Like I said, I have no idea how many hours are on this bike. It's a 2001. It was the guy that had it raced, from what I was told from the previous owner, was raced like MX competitively. So I mean, it's been ridden. It's a super nice fast bike. But anyway, I need to go ahead and pull this case off. I don't know how long it's been off of, you know, when's the last time it's been replaced, or if this has ever been replaced. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. Alright, so first thing to do, you see it's still dripping a little bit, but went ahead, this is your coolant right here, just went ahead, pulled that bolt out. That's a 8mm, so just right here. The rest of these are 8mm along this case, so we're gonna go ahead and remove those, but just went ahead and drained the coolant, because when you pull this, you're gonna have coolant come out. Alright guys, so I went ahead and put that back in, loosened the clamps here on these coolant hoses. So what you got is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 6, 7, and there's the 8th one right back there. So we'll have to take this brake lever, probably go ahead, I might pull this cotter key out and just drop this whole thing down out of the way. probably have to pull that and use the Allen wrench and take that lever off, but that'll let us get this case down all the way out of the way. Also have to remove the bolt right here for the Kickstarter. Alright, so with this removed, this bolt's a 12mm, so you take it out, and this Kickstarter just comes off. It's one of those grooves right there, so we'll set this out of the way. Alright, so I removed this counter key, slid this pin out, so went ahead and took this off. Only thing that's holding now is the spring. Take this spring and I can go ahead and just kind of rotate this lever down. That way we can pull this case off. Alright, so we popped off the spring behind here, and this will move up and down, and it'll allow us to get to that bolt. Also allow us to get to that bolt back here. But to get this entire case off, it looks like we're gonna have to go ahead and remove this lever completely. Alright, so I took this Allen wrench here, loosened this enough. I didn't take it all the way out, but I've got it loose enough where I rotated it all the way up. So now it's completely free of this case. We'll go ahead and pull these hoses off, and we'll pull these bolts out, get this case off and out of the way. Alright, so I removed the water pump cover here on the side. You can see you have the coolant that comes in this way. That impeller turns and it pushes it up through here, up into the engine. So what you have is when we're trying to remove this case, you have to pull this impeller off, and once you get that off, and then this case should come off. Alright, so this is a little 8mm bolt. You just take that off, this impeller comes off. You can see here's the shaft, and there's the seal right there. This is the outer seal. So when we remove this case, we'll have access to this outer seal as well as the inner seal. Also, we'll be able to inspect the shaft at that time. So we're gonna go ahead now and remove this case. Alright guys, so this bolt here at the bottom looks like it goes all the way in to the case, so this would be holding it on as well. So it's good to take this bolt out also. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled this cover off here. You don't have to remove the pressure plate, the springs, the bolts, the clutch discs and plates. You don't have to remove all of that to get this cover off. I went ahead, go ahead and remove your power valve here, the kips. This is the kip system. I'll show you all. I just took this cover off here. This goes, fits just like that. These are little 8mm bolts, so I went ahead and removed those. And go ahead and pull. Be careful not to lose this, because I almost did. It's this little C-clip right here. It just goes right over the end of that shaft. You just take, I just took a pair of needle nose and went up on both sides and popped it off. But all you want to do is get that off so that this can slide out, as you see right here. So when we pull this case off, this will come off. But now you can see when I'm wiggling it, you know, the whole case is moving. I haven't got it to where it's freed up yet though. The other previous owner, it looks like it's been off before, pretty sure, because it looks like a bunch of, you can see a bunch of sealant all in here, so it's probably stuck on pretty good. So I'm just gonna wiggle on it some, just get it to come out. Alright, so the cover's off. This is what it looks like with the cover off. I had a tough time over here because this sealant was, you can see here, dried up, and it was really hard to get all of it off of there. But anyway, this is the little, you know, the inner water pump shaft. Those bearings right there feel pretty good. Well, that looks okay. So this is what we're concerned about over here. I'm gonna get this over here on the bench and we'll check this shaft and everything out. Alright, so I wanted to show y'all what I did here. Took this cover off, have got it up here on the bench. I went ahead, I took a 13mm socket which fit right over this seal perfectly. Took this hammer here. This is actually a cool hammer. My dad made this. He's passed away now, was killed, but this is a hammer he made. You can tell he welded it on. Anyway, I like it. It's pretty cool. So this right here, this is the outer seal, and this is the way it was. So if you're looking from the case, this is the outside of the case. The inside, you have a bearing starting from the inside. You have another seal, which is right here, this plastic, and then this outer seal, and they all fit in. They fit in like that. This is obviously on the back side, and I'll turn this over to show y'all. If you flip this over here, you can see how it's recessed in here. That's where the bearing actually sits in there this way. So the bearing sits down in there and is recessed in to that spot. And then you have these two seals. So these are, I'm assuming, the seals that I'm gonna need to replace. You know, like I said, I have the leak. The shaft right here that goes through this way, there's some grooves right there, but they aren't to the point where I think I can't really catch anything on it. And I've actually taken this, took this putty knife here that I was using to kind of scrape some of the old gasket off. I actually took this and you know, was running along here, and it's not really wanting to catch in a groove. And from what I know, like if it's grooved enough where you can get your finger caught in it like a fingernail, you know, it's time you need to replace this shaft in this gear. I don't really think that this needs replacing. I think I'm probably gonna get a new bearing, because this bearing, it doesn't want to spin all that freely, and that could just be a result of wear, or it could be a result of the water, you know, mixing in here. Because you can look at all this stuff and see my gloves. This stuff is just, the oil that was in this was nasty from everything mixing. But this bearing just says Japan on it, NSK or whatever, 50 or 60S. I don't know, I can't read, it's too small. But it doesn't really spin that freely. So I'll probably end up replacing this. So anyway, that's where we are right now, guys. There's a local store here that I go to, a little ride shop, and I get parts from there. So I plan on tomorrow, you can see the case right here, it says KX250. I plan on tomorrow going and see, you can tell the difference. Like, look at that bearing spins so easily, freely. Oh, and keep in mind too, when you take this out, this is for your kips, your power valve. This actually sits in here that way. This valve right here kind of comes down over it, and it fits in this space right here where my thumb is. So anyway, keep that in mind when you put all this back together, which I'll show you. So I plan on picking up these parts here, putting this back in, putting this case back on, and riding it. Hopefully no more mixing of the coolant with the oil. Alright, so the parts are in. Got a hot rods. This is a bearing rebuild kit. So like I said, the pieces here, you got the two seals and a new bearing. I went ahead and went with that. I figured might as well. Also comes with a water pump gasket, as you can see in here. Got a clutch cover gasket here, All's Balls Racing. I went ahead and got this because I did pull that cover off. I didn't really have to for the procedure, except for one bolt, like towards the bottom. If you note in the video, it actually extended through this case into the other side of the case. So it did have to be removed, but I could have gone without it. I went ahead and pulled it off. Figured I'd just go ahead and replace it. And then I have this side cover gasket, as you can see right here. So that's actually the gasket for this side cover. That's really it for right now. We're going to go ahead with the reassembly. If I need some, this stuff right here is pretty good. This Permatex Blue RTV is pretty good for putting gaskets together, help to get a good seal. So I may or may not use that, but right now process, got some oil here. Go ahead and just kind of lube this hole up, and go ahead with the my socket here and this hammer. Go ahead, we'll just press this, try to press this bearing back in that hole. And this is a part number for the bearing kit. As you can see here, Kawasaki KX250 92 to 04. Alright, so I wanted to show you all this before I install. I have looked at this seal here that goes in the middle. First off, this is your outer seal like I showed you. You see there's two different sides. This side is flat, sort of, somewhat. This side kind of has a recessed portion here. But what I'm looking at, it doesn't say this side out or anything, but this seal I'm going to put in facing down this way, so the outside of this seal is what you'll see from the outside, which looks like it's correct, because you would want the fluid to be behind this, kind of in this area here, not against the flat part, to me. So I'm going to put that in face down. Second, this seal, which will go in behind that and be in between this seal and the bearing. If you can see here, there's a back side. This would sit, the outside of this would kind of sit where the bearings are, the balls, if you can see like that. If you turn it around, this portion here perfectly matches that portion on the bearing. If you can see here, this ring here and that ring there. I'm sorry, this is hard. Let me grab this punch here, I'll show you. This ring here matches this ring here as far as diameter goes. So I'm going to put this facing in this way. That way when this bearing is against it, these two surfaces will mate. So that is the key. I have already put these in, played with them, and actually taken this shaft here, placed in there, and y'all, I can tell a 100% difference in the clearance and how snug this fits compared to the old one. So I am 99.9% sure this was the problem, why I had coolant mixing with my gear case oil. Pretty sure, almost positive, this is going to fix it. Alright, so I spared y'all me beating on this thing with the hammer and this socket with the extension, but I got the bearing in, I got my seal in. What I did is I put this seal in first, and then I put the next bigger seal in behind that with that surface that I was talking about right here, made it against the bearing surface right here. And I put that in, went ahead, beat this down flat, and I took my smaller socket that fits here, went and I pressed this in lightly so it's seated and it's all connected inside now. So it's all one piece. Go ahead, take your shaft back here with the thread side facing out. So that's what you're going to screw the water pump into. And you can see that's a very, very snug fit compared to the other one. And you can see this bearing is new, so it's going to take some breaking in. It's packed good with some grease that you can see in there. So yeah, this thing is going to take some work, get worked in good. But anyway, that's it. That's what it looks like. So we're going to go ahead reassemble this bad boy. And I may or may not, I may just leave this gasket on here. If I have a problem with leaks, I can always come back and replace it with my new one. It won't be that hard of a job as taking this cover off. It's very simple. So I'm just going to leave this on for the time being. So I went ahead with some blue RTV, went ahead and put a layer around here. I'm now going to place my gasket on top of this to help it make a better surface to seat on. Alright, so this is a side cover, gasket on. Went ahead and put a little bit of RTV, just kind of the excess that was here, on little spots on the surface here. So we're going to go ahead now. I went ahead and cleaned the rest of this off with that putty knife, so I have a clean surface to put the new gasket on. So that's what we're going to do now. Just go ahead and reinstall this case, put the bolts back in, and make sure when you hook it up, make sure this goes in here and this piece here goes in there. Your and your power valve, your kips, you go ahead and reinstall that too. This lever right there. Alright, so the side cover's installed. What I do is just go around, make sure that I don't have any excessive gaps that would lead me to believe that I'm hung up on like a stud or something. But everything is good. It's seated nice and flat everywhere. We're going to go ahead, I'm going to reinstall this kips, the power valve up here, and get that set up. We'll go ahead and just start reinstalling all these bolts, and put your water pump impeller back on, and we'll go from there. And since they included this gasket here, I know this is not part of like the total, just the water pump rebuild, but your cover right here, your housing for your water pump, this intake here where the fluid comes down from the radiator into the water pump, that's what this gasket here is for. I'm going to go ahead while it's off and while I'm doing it and have the gasket pull these off. They're 8mm. Pull those 2 bolts off. We're going to take a putty knife, clean this gasket up, put some new blue RTV on and this new gasket real quick. New gasket and blue RTV installed. Put a little RTV on the clutch cover just to be on the safe side. Got all the bolts in, tightened down nice and tight. New gaskets, sealed up. She ought to be good to go. We're going to go ahead and replace our clutch cover. Keep in mind the one bolt at the bottom is the longest one. It goes all the way through the case. If I remember right, I believe it's this one or this one. I believe it's this one. It is the long bolt that goes in this hole. Alright, so now all that's left is to top the fluids off. Now here I have this is my HP high performance transmission oil, which I was going to put in. Like I said, if you've seen my previous video, I ran ATF in it till I figured out what was going on and broke the clutch free. Saw if it was still leaking, and it was, so fixed that. 99.9% sure. Gonna go ahead and put that in. For the coolant, I'm just using some pre-diluted 50/50 SuperTech, which is safe for all aluminum radiators with aluminum parts. And for the fill capacity, if you look right here on the side of the case, it says oil 0.85 liters. For our radiator, we hold 1.18 liters, and that is level with the filler neck right there. That's when it's full. So the coolant is full to the fill neck, but keep in mind you're going to have to run the engine some and then stop it and recheck it, because this coolant will end up circulating through the engine and it'll be low on the radiator. Next, we're going to add our engine gear case oil. So got the plug removed. You're going to remove this plug here. Like I said, you can go by here. That's a pretty good estimate, 0.85 liters. But we're going to fill it up until it starts coming out of this hole, and that's how you know it's full. Alright, so this is about all we got left over from our gear case oil. It's full. Coolant's topped off. Only thing left to do now, y'all, is start her up, see how she runs, see if we got everything put together right, and make sure we don't have any leaks. Alright. So no leaks so far. Everything looks good. No coolant, no gear case oil. That's a good sign. It's dark right now, so I can't take it out and test drive it. Pipe's not getting too hot. Must be cooling good. Alright, y'all, check this coolant again real quick. Cut this bad boy off. Well, she's running good. Let's check the coolant. Coolant's still good, so we'll check it out. We'll have to take it out when it gets light out, take it down the road, see how it runs. And it wouldn't be complete without the Hot Rods original cranks and rods sticker. Alright, so we got her outside. She's saying, ooh, ride me, I'm ready to go. So as y'all can see here out in the daylight, here's the side case. You can see my beautiful RTV job, the blue that actually matches the blue on my coolant hoses, so that's pretty cool. And y'all can see here, there's no leaks at all. Went ahead and topped the radiator back off. So I got fresh coolant, got a fresh gear oil in here, and we're gonna go ahead and start it up, see how she does. Alright y'all, so that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. I thank y'all again for watching. Please click the like button if this has helped you. Comment if you have any questions. I'll answer them as soon as I can. I'm K Reese. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching y'all.